Kareem Bezel and Bryant Larson were now going blow for blow at the top of the yard. "You two need to get down now," Officer Carson said, and pulled her pepper spray from her waistband. A band of officers dressed in riot gear had their guns trained on the inmates that complied and were on the ground. A team of nurses had been at the yard doorway awaiting full control so they could go in and assist wounded inmates. Kareem threw another punch at his attacker and was then hit with a burning sensation to his face. He was sprayed by Officer Carson, but that didn't stop him from fighting. He reached out for Larson and wrapped his arms around him and scooped him into the air. He slammed Larson to the ground, while Officer Carson continued to coat him with pepper spray. Both men continued to throw punches and had not been affected by the spray. Kareem was pulled off his feet by a member of the officer's goon squad. He kicked Larson as he came up. Kareem was handcuffed behind his back and then marched through the yard by two goons. The jail's main area was empty because all inmates had been locked down. The House of Corrections had opened in 1874 and was one of the 6 county prisons that housed unsentenced misdemeanants. It was the only one with a wheel and spoke design, first seen with the construction of Eastern State Penitentiary in 1829. A center control served as a center rotunda in the middle, which served as access to 6 two-tiered cell blocks. While being chaperoned swiftly through the jail, Kareem was on his tiptoes being pulled with brute force. He was practically floating in the air beneath his feet. "Open up A block," one of the officers that dragged Kareem said. The unit was opened, and 2 officers took Kareem to the back of the wing to the shower. A third officer took out a pair of scissors and cut the inmate's light blue prison pullover. His tank top was cut off next. Kareem was then pushed under the water. "What the fuck, man?" he said as the water hit his skin. "Take off these cuffs. You got me underwater in cuffs." Kareem's voice was grave and deep. He was angry and prepared to do whatever it took to protect himself from further harm. That meant protecting himself from inmates and prison authorities. But he could do nothing in handcuffs, and the burning sensation to his skin thoroughly made him aware of that. Former DEA Agent Lucas McKenzey had been holed up in Cambridge, Massachusetts since his escape from federal custody. He killed the man that helped him escape, and now made a great homeless man. He panhandled money from hard-working MIT and Harvard University students by day, and by night, he stashed his homeless sign that read, "I am wanted by the feds, help me," in the top of one of the newspaper dispensers, which held free newspapers that covered the Boston area. His homeless shift had ended, and he then proceeded to the Harvard Square train station and rode into the Back Bay area of Boston. The psychopath headed to a local Starbucks and changed out of his homeless costume. He traded it for an Armani suit, fancy wingtips, chrome briefcase, and a duffel bag. He tossed his homeless duds into the duffel bag and then headed to his suite at the Four Seasons Hotel in downtown Boston on Avery Street. It was located across the street from the Boston Commons, and he enjoyed watching the people in the park from his suite. When he entered the hotel, he was greeted by the bellman who held the door open for him. "Good evening and welcome back, Mr. Trump," the bellman said to him and smiled. McKenzey simply nodded his head and smiled back. He headed to his room and adored that the hotel was under the foolish impression that he was a Trump, as in a brother of the real estate tycoon Donald Trump. They ate up all of his garish stories about Christmas in the Trump house. They would chuckle. So did he, though. They'd be laughing at the absurd things he made up about Donald Trump. And he'd be laughing at them. It was all a game. His game. The former DEA agent wanted to win. Winning over the hotel staff was easy enough. It was inmate Kareem Bezel that he hadn't beat. That had to change. Enough time had lapsed, and he was ready to play.